Hello viewers and welcome to my new video. Today I have a very special guest with me, Rumbi Tauro, who is an amazing singer and songwriter as well, currently based in Manchester. And I'm just going to say a little bit of a story about how I discovered you, if that's okay,
Yeah, of
before
course.
we go into the question. So I basically went to this venue in Manchester called Band on the Wall as part of my sort of music discovery journey, and I actually went to see someone else who's called Adi Oasis, who was the
Mm,
headlining act. And then you were there as a support act with your
yeah,
band, and I
yeah.
was blown away, to be honest with you. Like I was just standing there in the audience and I thought, oh my god, this is so good, you know.
Wow.
It just put me like in a very soulful place, for a lack of a better
Wonderful.
description. It sounded really good and it just had like a lot of very good energy.
Thank
uh,
you.
okay, so what I'm
Thank
gonna
you so
do is
much.
I'm just gonna read that because the first question is really, if
Yeah.
you could tell me a little bit about your journey, because
Yeah.
I've been reading your bio on Spotify, and what it says here
Mm,
is that you're hailing from Zimbabwe
yeah.
and cultivated in Doncaster. So, and now
Mm,
obviously you are based in Manchester. So
yeah.
I'm really interested to hear how all that came about, and what's your what sort of what was the journey for you to be where you are right now.
Okay. Hi everyone. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to just chat more with you. I actually don't know what you're going to ask me, which is like, I'm excited because I feel like you're just going to ask me some things that I wouldn't expect. So, yeah. Great first question. I was born in Zimbabwe, and we moved straight from Zimbabwe to Doncaster in South Yorkshire in 2002. So I was
Hmm.
around 4 or 5 years old, and
Okay, yeah, yeah.
um, my mum and dad started me on piano lessons as soon as we arrived. It was like a month into being in Doncaster. They were like, "Okay, you're going to start piano lessons." Started private piano lessons, and I kind of liked it. I wasn't sure. It was all very new to me, and I was very young.
Hmm.
Started for a bit, and then kept on with that, my weekly lessons, and then I started having violin lessons at school as well. So
Okay.
that was around the age of 7. And I guess my introduction to music, like in terms of studying, I guess, was through the classical route. And then, of course, back home, we had like, um, we didn't even listen to classical music at home, but that was my introduction into kind of studying music. And then I started singing in church around the same time as playing the violin, so
Hmm.
around 7. And I realized, oh, actually, this side seems way more fun, the singing side, because I can just do whatever I want. Like I can find a song that I like, or listen to it, learn the lyrics, and then now I can perform alongside the artist that's created this song. So I learned a lot of songs by like Sierra and Alicia Keys and
Hmm.
Tracy Chapman at
Oh
the
yeah,
time.
one of my
And
favorite artists, Tracy Chapman, actually, believe it
yeah,
or not.
one of mine as well, my
Yeah,
my favorite artist. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was great just being able to, I don't know, singing. I just found so much freedom in singing. Whereas I guess with the classical side, you're given a piece of music and you have to learn it and that's it. Like you might be able to put a bit of flavor into it, but you can't deviate too much from, this the sheet music. So
Yeah.
I liked it, but music singing there was something there. And then all the way through like my childhood and just growing up as a teenager, I still continued my classical instruments, but with singing, I started to like do like competitions around the UK, small
Uh-huh.
like ch children like competitions really. And that was great just to kind of see other people that were singing because I Doncaster's at the time was a small town,
Yeah.
so I didn't really have a lot of other like young black children that were singing. It
Hmm.
just felt like it was just me.
Okay.
So it was great to go to these competitions, apply and sing and hope for the best type thing. And then we fast forward to like all this time growing up, I never actually created my own music. I'd never written my own like songs. And I studied music at A level. I then went to university in Birmingham to
Hmm.
do to study media and communications, but I specialized in music. Um, but the music side wasn't a practical course. It was a very just the business side of things. So we did a lot about music law,
Okay.
event management, PR, and marketing, that type of the industry, which is helpful now for what I do. But at the time, I didn't really see how it was beneficial. I kind of questioned myself whether I should have done a practical course, like a
Hmm.
singing degree. But I'm so glad I didn't. I would have hated it.
I don't think that
Um,
you need it necessarily, to be honest.
no, I would have really disliked it. So yeah, so anyway, we fast forward to lockdown and I'd graduated, I'd been back home for a year and I was just like, I've spent all my life just studying music and studying what other artists do. Like I was able to perform back home doing like cover shows
Uh-huh.
for a while, which was fun. But I was like, I just still feel that there's the other side that I'm scared to tap into, which was to write my own stuff. And then December 2019, I'd quit my job that I'd had after uni. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to be a musician. And I had no idea what that meant. And then fast forward to March 2020, that's when lockdown happened.
Yes.
And I now had this time to just write. And I wrote my EP, The Process, during that
Hmm.
time. Um, and that was my first ever time writing. So my EP, which is a bit crazy, the four tracks that are on that EP are the first four tracks I've ever written in my life. And then
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
everything
Uh,
over the last 4 years has been, yeah, my songwriting journey. My songwriting journey started 4 years ago, which is crazy for what's happened ever since then. But that's the short story of how we've got here now.
Well, that's amazing. No, thank you so much. That, yeah, there's so many interesting points because one point that I picked up on, and I'm probably going to be deviating a little bit from my
No,
questions,
of
but
course.
but
Yeah.
it's about what you learned at university because that type of knowledge it certainly helps. I think in terms of
Yeah.
like the business side of things, because of course a lot of artists they kind of just like learn the craft,
Yeah.
and learn how to
Yeah.
perform or how to play an instrument or sing or whatever that might be, but a lot of
Yeah.
them don't know. And I've even actually spoken to some artists that don't have that knowledge necessarily,
Mm.
like they have never been taught this. So I've
Yeah.
spoken to people who have learned things at uni. So for instance,
Yeah.
like they learned an instrument or that kind of thing
Yeah.
and just had all these exams, how to
Yeah.
perform these songs,
Yeah.
but they didn't have that other side of things.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think genuinely at the time, it was cool. Like I was just taking in a lot of information, and I was in a new space. I'd moved from a small town to a big city, so I was kind of frustrated when I graduated, thinking, "Wow, I spent 3 years in an amazing city.
Hmm.
We had a recording studio at the university. I was
Oh
so
yeah.
afraid to even go in there
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to write a song." So I felt like I wasted time at uni when I graduated. But looking back, I'm so grateful for the information that I kind of absorbed during that time because everything that I do now in terms of having to be like a self-managed independent artist,
Hmm.
I have to know these things. And,
Hmm.
it's fine to know a little bit and you learn more along the way. But I think I would have really struggled if I hadn't have gone to uni to like gain
Yeah.
that knowledge.
No, that sounds really. So can I then move? Because I've got a question here about songwriting. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's kind of like a
Yeah.
natural progression, I think, to this question.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to actually hear that you only started doing that 4 years ago. And the reason I'm saying this is because the songs are actually so good. Like
Thank
I need to
you.
say, because I'm a massive fan, but for me personally, any
Mm,
artist, nobody ever stands out unless they have good songs.
yeah.
So what I mean by that is you could be the best singer in the world, you could be the best guitarist, whatever, keyboard
Yeah.
player.
Yeah.
But if you are an artist, like a songwriter in your own right, and if your
Yeah.
songs are not that good, then
Yeah.
I don't think people are gonna be that interested, really, to be honest. But
Yeah.
your songs, I must admit, I really find them like really good, and like
Thank
every
you.
song is different, which is always something that I like in an
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
And there's obviously like different subjects, excuse me, as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just ask you about the process, I suppose, of how do you go about writing songs?
Honestly, it's hard. Like it's hard in the sense of I don't know how to explain it. I still feel so early on because I am. I still feel so early on in my journey of
Hmm.
songwriting, and I kind of thought when I started during lockdown in 2020 that okay, there's a formula that you find, and then it's the same thing that's repeated over and over. But it's been so different every time.
Uh-huh.
Um, so far it seems to be that I will always get the chorus idea that will that will just happen. I don't usually have to spend time thinking about that. It's very strange.
Hmm.
But it really does just come to you. And what I mean by that, for it not to sound so cryptic, is like, um, okay, for example, actually, I've been trying to work on a song this morning, and there seems to be themes that come along throughout the week, let's say, that will lead to this chorus just happening to come out of nowhere, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I was sent what do you call it, like a voice recording from a producer who's created this really beautiful, like atmospheric soundtrack. Um, it sounds amazing, and it's like my heart can feel where the lyrics need to like take me to, but I don't have until it's like today. It felt like I just didn't have the lyrics, but then like over the week, there've been different like messages, I guess, of like something to do with like feeling submerged or in the darkness or feeling covered. And it's like I saw a picture of Billie Eilish's new album cover that's
Hmm.
coming out in May, and like Billie's in the water, in the ocean, and there's like a door that she could like that she can potentially get through. But like it's like now this morning when I'm trying to think of like when I was trying to think of the lyrics of the song, it's like those type of themes and I don't know, either words or yeah, just themes really that I've kind of have crossed my path along the week. They come into the songwriting session, so it's like I've had to like live life a bit to be able to then have the experience to actually then have like lyrics. um
Hmm.
so yeah, so that's how it seems to have been. Like there'll be something that's happened, or there'll be something I've seen or a conversation I've had that then allows me to get some sort of chorus idea that will come to my mind, and then I'll intentionally sit down and be like, oh, something in my gut is telling me there's something there.
Yeah.
I'll sit down and now intentionally find a way of what's the verse then, how do we introduce this song to get to this chorus, and then what's the story after the chorus, and that's
Hmm.
how I then build the rest of the song lyrically, and then I'll work with a producer to like expand the idea. But that's kind of what it's been like so far.
Okay, no, that sounds very good. So you have a producer that you work with, you said. So do you actually write the music side of things, or do you have does the producer kind of write the music and you just like write the lyrics, or do you do both, or do a little bit of each,
Mm.
or
So from the EP, so just like for transparency, the EP, the process that I released in 2020, the first song Mixed Signals was created by a local producer at the time. Um, he created that, and then I wrote all the lyrics for that.
uh-huh.
The other three tracks on my EP are all like type beats. They were on YouTube, found on YouTube. So
Hmm.
producers that I then licensed the song from on BeatStars,
Hmm.
that um the sound was already there, but I then wrote all the lyrics. Ever since then, I realized actually I don't want to do that anymore. I feel limited when I'm not creating a fresh track, because sometimes it's like, oh, I'm being forced to write alongside an idea. I like to have the idea first, and the music then comes around me. So what
Uh-huh.
happens lately with with the music I've been working on recently, I will come up with the chords on the piano because
Hmm.
again, just going back to that was my first
Of
instrument.
course.
I will come up with the chords on the piano, and then I will send it to like one of my musicians. Usually, at the moment, it's been Sam, who does musical direction for me for my shows and
Yeah.
also plays guitar as well
Yeah,
and keys. He does
he's
everything.
also very good at it as well.
Yes, shout out to Sam
May I
Allen.
say, yeah, absolutely,
Um,
yeah. Saw him in action, so yeah.
Yes. So I'll send it to Sam, and then he's way more like, he's just incredible. So he will turn my cute little 3 chord ideas into this, you know, huge production. But that's kind of been the process. I usually like to come up with a few chords on the piano just so I can understand what the feel is of the song.
Yeah.
And then I'll send it to um either Sam, or if there's you know, there've been other times where I've been working with a producer, and then we were working on something else, but this idea's come and it's like, oh, actually, there's something here. Let's leave the other one to the side for now, and we'll work on this new idea. I don't have like one producer. I haven't had that one producer that I work with, and I don't know. I kind of like it so far, but again, all new things are changing. Maybe in the next couple of years there'll be that, you know, that one producer that I'm like 90% of my work is created with, but so far it's different people.
No, but it's good to work with different people as well, isn't it? You kind of
Yeah,
expand your horizon a little bit. And also, I think from having collaborations with different people, there's like, yeah, everybody is different and everybody
so
brings some
different.
like different ideas, I guess. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's very,
And bearing in mind, just to add that this is something that has been a huge thing for me, like as an individual to kind of um learn. I am an only child. I've been used to my own company for a
yeah,
very long time, of course, alongside my parents, but I'm used to doing things by myself. And I go to give, for example, let's use the childlike example. I'm either will create by myself, I go to my parents with the finished product. So musically, that was my process of like, this is my thing, and I
yeah,
only want to I only want to share this when it's done and when I feel like it's polished. So here you go. So having to kind of come out of that and realize actually there really is beauty in collaboration. Like for
yeah.
me to send you an idea when it's like
Mhm.
2 minutes old or it's a day old, it's like it feels like I'm literally saying, here's my heart, there you go.
Mhm.
But you know, with the sharing that with the right people is such a great thing to do, because like I said, I'll send it, for example, to Sam, and the way that he's able to interpret what I'm trying to do, it's like I wouldn't be able to do that by myself. And I've had to learn to kind of find the people that I feel safe with to
Yeah.
share to work alongside the music when it's very early, rather than always being in this thing of like, I will never show anyone anything until it's like it's finished. So yeah, so definitely collaboration is like so important.
No, that's really good. Yeah, I mean, I've been on both ends of that myself. I
Yes.
think where I've worked with other people and by myself. It's different, isn't it? It's yeah.
Yeah. How have you found it?
Um, I don't know. I think both things can be good in a way. Well, this is just me talking about me now, but
No, please. It's a
I
conversation.
sometimes
I'd love to know.
I don't know if I find myself. I suppose because it's my own thing. Like for example, now working on my own music,
Yeah.
sometimes I kind of know what I want,
Yeah.
and it's I know where I'm heading, and it's
Yeah.
good to be in that kind of headspace. But I'm not
Yeah.
definitely, because I'm currently writing this new record, so I think that is probably going to be more collaborations. Definitely, I want to invite more
Yeah.
people like on board as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, previously being in bands, I think when you're in a band, that's a very different scenario because you do share it all the time. So you bring
Yeah.
ideas, to even to a rehearsal room, and you say, "Oh, look, I've got
What do
this
you think of
idea. How
this?
about we work on this and
Yeah.
then see where that sort of takes us?" So that's
Yeah.
slightly different, in itself.
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like that though. I think I don't know. I find the studio a bit, I haven't found my home in the studio yet.
Uh huh.
I feel like it feels like, I don't know, like it feels like I'm in a science experiment. Like I'm in a lab, and it's like it doesn't feel like an organic environment. And
Yeah.
I love watching like documentaries and like videos on YouTube about artists that I look up to, and like how a lot of them say that they don't record in the studio. They'll usually, well, two things. For those that do record in the studio, they don't want to be in the booth. They just want like a standard handheld
Yeah.
mic where
Yeah.
they can sit down and record that way. And I was like, wow, that makes me feel like, I feel like I would love that even more, because I just want to sing. I don't want to feel like I'm like, okay, 3, 2, 1, I'm walking into this booth now. I've got to deliver. I just want to
Hmm.
sing. I just want to sit down and sing. So I
Yeah.
think, and I'm wanting to try that out, like for the upcoming sessions that I'll have. But for those that don't record in the studio, just having the studio set up in their front room and their house in their own environment.
Yeah.
Like I'm so picky about the studios I go to, because unless I feel comfortable, I won't be able to sing well. So I think already having to go through that process of finding a studio I feel comfortable in, and then finding an engineer or producer I feel comfortable with, and then being comfortable in the booth. Like there's so many things you got to tick off with just being able to feel like, okay, yeah, great. Whereas here in my own space, or like in my apartment here, or at home in Doncaster, my parents, it's like I sing the best because it's like I feel so at peace here.
Yeah.
So I agree. Even with rehearsals, it's always like, then when when we're all together and we bounce off ideas, it's like, oh wow, like we were just having fun, but now we've actually created something really cool. We should probably develop that, because you're just all in your natural element. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense to me. What everything you're saying. Next question I've got here is about the fact that, so obviously you were based in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And then you decided to move to Manchester. So I was just curious what made you do that, and whether maybe you felt that the Manchester music scene was perhaps bigger, maybe, or.
So when I moved back home after uni, my friend Sandra, who I lived with at uni, she's older than me, so she graduated the year before I did. So when I'd graduated, she was like, "Hey, I'm thinking of moving to Manchester. Do you want to come?" I was like, "No, I wouldn't. I'd never want to live in Manchester. Like, I'm fine, thanks." And she was like, "Honestly, it's really cool city. Like, there's lots happening, blah blah blah." I was like, "No, I'm fine, thank you." And then a couple of months later, leading up to when I ended up quitting my job in the December of 2019, she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna move. I'm hoping to move next year. What do you reckon? Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, I don't know. I'll get back to you. A couple of months into lockdown, I was like, you know what? Maybe this could be a great opportunity to just try something new. And then by the February 2021 is when we'd finally moved to Manchester. And at the time, I'd said like it was for music, but I'd only really just released my EP. Like I'd only just started. But that was kind of the main thing of just, I think I just was only focused on the music side. What I didn't realize was like, there was going to be the personal growth side of things, of moving into a new city. And I guess along the way I've realized, okay, at that time I was young anyway, but I only saw this being a place to grow musically. And we'd said we'd only be here for like a year, and then we wanted to move to London.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then everything changed. Like I don't want to move to London like for the foreseeable. I'm not saying ever, but right now I'm so happy here in Manchester. My career has taken off in such great ways that I didn't really see at the time. But funnily enough, when I moved here, it was more so because at the time it felt like my sound of kind of soulful R&B wasn't really I guess being reciprocated well back home. Back home it was quite an indie rock / alternative environment, and there weren't that many places for me to be heard. So I just saw Manchester as a fresh start where I'll be able to kind of just perform at so many different venues. And then funnily enough, I didn't really get a chance to perform for about a year and a half of living here.
Really? Okay.
So from 2021 till like, it was only really the end of 2022 that I got, so February 2021 till like October, November time, 2022, that's when I got my first booking at Band on the Wall after emailing them 7 times before.
Okay.
And they finally gave me a shot, and that's just been its own crazy beast in its own, like in the most magical way ever since then. But I started to become, in that year and a half gap, I was I started to become way busier back in Yorkshire. I was in Yorkshire like almost every other weekend because of a music booking, or
Oh,
because I
so
was
you were still
now,
performing in Yorkshire, but you
yeah,
weren't actually performing in Manchester.
here,
Okay.
where it's like, but this is weird because I've left the place that I thought I didn't, there weren't that many opportunities. And a lot of my, genuinely, I was there, all people were like, so have you moved to Manchester? And I was like, yeah, I have. It's just I'm back home all the time now because the opportunities here, and with anything creatively, you just have to go where the opportunities are.
Of
And then it's
course,
only
yeah.
been over the last year, to be honest, that my 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 name has kind of been
Well,
introduced properly into the
yeah,
scene. But like
yeah.
I've been here 3 years now.
It takes time sometimes, though, doesn't it, to
It
build
really
your
does.
to establish yourself.
It really does.
Yeah, yeah,
Excuse me.
100%. No, no, that's really interesting. Okay, so my next thing here, because I've done a bit of research, I'm trying to be a good interviewer,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh my gosh, I'm
Um,
scared.
so I know you mentioned this before a little bit, but
Yeah.
from what I was kind of reading, I think you won like a singing award at some point. Is that right?
I won a competition
Yeah,
in Yorkshire, yeah, called Pattern and Push.
yeah.
The competition is called, well, the competition and organization are called Pattern and Push.
Hmm.
Um yeah, so that was a competition in 2021 where you had to create a song around positivity. The whole theme was positivity, and
Hmm.
my song Run Run was the song I created through that whole
Yeah.
4 month process of the competition. So you applied with like a little singing video. They chose the top 40 to join like 6 weeks of masterclasses. Then during the masterclasses, you were given a mentor. I had an
Yeah.
incredible mentor called Danae Wellington, who is still my mentor to this day. Love her so much. And um, from that masterclass, you were working on your song. So I had the chorus of Run Run that came to my mind, and then I explored that. By the time we got by the time we were finished with the masterclasses, they picked the top 8, and the top 8 got a chance to finish your song, record it in a studio,
Hmm.
and then perform live um for the event. And then they chose the winner from the event. And I won the competition with Run Run, which was crazy. And that led to why I ended up being really busy in Yorkshire from that competition. It led then to my my second ever festival booking, and just so many other things led on from that, which has been amazing.
That sounds really good, and that song is amazing, by the way. That this
Thank
because that I
you.
think I do have this memory. You see, I think
Yeah,
this is the first song that you played with your band when I saw you. In fact, I'm pretty
that sounds about
I'm
right.
pretty
Yeah,
convinced that was like first song in the set,
yeah,
and I didn't
yeah,
know anything. You remember? I
yeah.
was
Of
just I
course.
heard this live
Yeah,
without checking it out
hearing. Yeah, yeah.
prior to the
Wow.
gig. So,
Yeah.
so definitely made an impression because I started
Wow.
checking out your music after, when I went
Yeah.
home from that gig, I'm like, oh, I need to
Yeah.
listen to some more of this.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And even the live side of things, like if we get onto that, I won't go
yeah,
on too much. But
yeah,
the live side of things has just been really exciting to be able to explore songs that you've created in a time before, but you can just do a completely different arrangement and approach to it for the live side. But
yeah.
yeah, that competition was great. Pattern and Push was amazing.
So I'm glad you've mentioned this actually about
Mm.
performing live,
Yeah.
because I do have a question here. So this question is about, if you could take me through a little bit the musical arrangement side of things, because exactly what you just said, something I definitely noticed. I am really impressed by this as well, as myself being a songwriter, arranger. I do
Yeah.
these things myself, but it's like seeing that there's so much work that has gone into a show, for instance, because I'm gonna tell you what I mean.
Yeah.
When I listened to your track, so it's like, firstly I heard you live and I thought,
Yeah.
oh, this sounds so good, like all the sounds, like with all the combination of the band and yourself and your voice just
Yeah.
sounded so good. But then when I went, say, on Spotify and I checked your songs out that were recorded like in a studio,
Yeah.
they had a different sound to them. So they had more, maybe I would say like more modern effects on
Yeah.
them
Like
and
an
things like that.
electronic feel. I feel like it feels like an electronic feel at times.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So they had more of that kind of vibe to them.
Yeah.
But then when I went to watch your headlining show at Band
Yeah.
on the Wall,
Yeah.
that was really good. Obviously, that experience was very different because that I would probably say that was even better than the first time, like
Great.
because the whole band just gelled so much. But you got that feeling of just that live band
Yeah.
just playing, and it was so good. And you know, with Sam playing his guitar as well, I was like almost feeling like there's like this rock vibe also coming in into
Mm.
the songs, which
Yeah.
is very different from the recorded versions again.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Yeah.
curious to hear about how do you arrive at these like
Yeah.
different arrangements, you know, and what's the
Yeah.
preparation like for the live show?
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Like, thank you as well for the I guess not the comparison, but what you said about just looking at from the first show that you came to see us, or that you were in the room for, then comparing it to almost what, a year and a bit later? Because
Yeah.
that, wait, no, yeah, almost a year, couple about 8 months or so.
Yeah, I think
Because Adi
yeah.
Oasis was middle of last year.
Okay, yeah. No, you're
And
right.
then
Yeah, time
yeah,
flies, doesn't it?
it
I
really
didn't
does,
realize.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adi Oasis, and that support slot was like, I want to say it was around April last year or something. And because it definitely wasn't the second half of the year, so it was around April last year. Then comparing it to January, I love the musicians I get a chance to work with. I do not have a Rumbi Tauro band. I have like session musicians that you know, graciously you know, are willing to work with me, and I just absolutely love it, because for me, like I said before, we've gone from me who didn't want to show anyone anything until it's finished, to then when I performed my tracks live for the first time, I used to use backing tracks, so just the officially recorded tracks without my main vocal line in them. I did that for a couple of months, and my family were like, "You need to get a band." I was like, "No, like, how can I trust musicians with my music? Like, I just don't know." And finally, going and breaking that barrier, and then now to be on this other side, I'm like, oh, thank God, like this has been amazing. With any
Yeah.
musicians that I use, like that I work with, I always, there has to just be that rapport of like, we can just talk as human beings, we can hang out, I don't know, I don't want to say the word family feel, because that's not the intention you go with, but by the end of it, it does feel like that kind of family feel of, oh wow, this is bigger than music. This is like, you love your instrument and what you do just as much as I love what I do. And when you bring that together, it's powerful. I think I've been in situations where on paper it would have looked good for the type of people I might have worked with, but realistically, I guess we just didn't quite, there might not have been that chance to really gel. I think sometimes I was just so focused on that, right, we've got a rehearsal, like almost like no talking, like let's just get on with what we need to do, but not leaving that room to actually create a bond with people, so you can actually trust each other, knowing that, like, okay, if I maybe get my lyric wrong, or whatever, no one's going to make a scene about it, or if someone makes a mistake here, like, we know that you've acknowledged it and you can pick it back up. Like, I think what I've got now with all the musicians I get a chance to work with is just that there's that foundation level of like the respect of each other, and now that I've got friendships with all of them, so when you bring that together, when it comes to our rehearsals, everyone knows that I'm like, you're not here to play what is on the recording or what the original idea is. You're here to bring a new sense of life to the song. So I love for the musicians to find a different approach that also suits their style, to kind of create this just one big chaotic sound. Like I always
Mm.
say to them, I like for most of the shows, there's a journey we take. So sometimes they'll know that I like to kind of do it in lines or shapes. So sometimes I'll say to the band, the aim of the show is like this kind of direction. Sometimes I'll say to them, it's like this, and we'll bring it down and we'll go back up. Sometimes it's like, right, we just need to do this, start kind of mid energy, maybe bring it down a bit, and we just soar at the end. So I feel like that direction from me helps initially. So everyone knows what's our overall goal. And then people don't, I guess, experiment in the wrong time of the set and stuff
Yeah,
like that, and they
yeah,
know where there's freedom to just do whatever you want. And then it helps having the direction from, like, for example, Sam, or like Viv on bass, or Rory, who sometimes plays guitar for me as well. If they've got the role of like MD, they are able to kind of still make sure that is being achieved in real time, so I can switch off when I'm actually performing and not have to really worry about the direction of the music, because
hmm,
really realistically I should just be focusing on the delivery of my lyrics and the
yeah,
delivery of myself, knowing that even if I forget, oh, at this point we were meant to bring it down, I already know that, because I can hear what they're doing and I'm like, oh yeah, of course we need to bring it down. So having that conversation in rehearsal of what's the direction, what's the aim and narrative of the set, allows us to, I guess, really explore and at times really bring it back. Like
yeah,
I'm very um I'm just very conscious of like atmosphere, and I've worked really hard in ensuring that, I guess, when I'm on stage, you can tell. I want everything to seem intentional, because it is. And I literally think of every second of a show, like everything to do with the moment that the band get on, not when I get on, the moment that the band get on, how are
yeah,
they presenting themselves? What does the
hmm,
sound look like? What are the
yeah,
lights like? If I can have control of lights. When I do have control of lights, I make a list of what lighting I want for each song, and just the type of effect, because everything for me is like I've got this like half an hour section or an hour to just control. It feels like you can control everything, you
hmm,
know. Um, but yeah, that's kind of, yeah, that's how we approach it. And I would just want the musicians to feel free. I don't want that classical narrative that I kind of went back to earlier, of like where it feels like, oh, you've got the sheet music, so it has to. We don't even
yeah,
use sheet music. I'm just using it as an example.
yeah,
You've got the sheet music and you've got to copy, and it has to sound like this because in the recording, the bridge
yeah.
goes like this. Like, what's the point of the live experience if you can't change it up? Like,
Oh,
that's why I want people to come back knowing like I have to be in the room to hear it like that, because on the recording it's not like that, you know.
I completely understand what you're saying, and you know what? This is like music to my ears because,
Mm.
um, yeah, having that sort of thought process and actually thinking about each aspect of a show, I think is very important, and it's also very professional, you know,
Mm. Mm.
and it
Thank
comes
you.
across. It pays off because when you're in the audience, like I was, you know, when you're just there, you know, enjoying yourself, it
Yeah.
really works, and that
Yeah.
interaction on stage between the band members also really works. Hmm.
Yeah, it's I'm not allowed to turn around to look at the band, in the sense of Sam told me off once, last year for a festival. He was like, you don't need to look at us. Like, we
Hmm.
are doing our thing. The people you should, where your focus should be is in front of you.
Yeah,
And I think that's definitely happened since knowing that. It's like, actually, yeah, there's so much trust there. It was never a case of like looking back at like what's going on, what's happening. But I guess it was just that, I guess maybe even subconsciously, my mind is like, oh, just turn around, make sure everyone's okay. It's like they're absolutely fine. They're having a great time. What I need to do
yeah.
is focus over there, you know?
They're a very good band. The thing is, they play really well together. They're very tight. So
Yeah.
if I was playing with them, say, I would be just
Yeah.
like that, like what you've just described. You
Yeah.
can feel very safe when you play with those level of musicians. I think because you know, like so
Yes.
they know what they're doing. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
you can just get on with your own thing. And
Yeah. I
yeah,
can
yeah,
just focus on me, and I love to leave room for I love to leave room for live experiment when we're doing our shows. Like,
hmm,
I think I also tell them in rehearsals, I might do this in this section or I might not. Like, especially with band intros, I just do that when it feels right.
Yeah,
Whereas before
yeah.
I used to be like, oh, I have to do it in the first song. I have to do it in the, whatever. Like that doesn't really matter. I will always make sure my musicians get a chance to be, for everyone to acknowledge that they're there. Cause like I always say it, without them, it would be so boring.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, fair enough. Like if you like to hear my voice, but I'm like, what, half an hour or an hour of just me singing a cappella? It's not that exciting. So I always love to honor the fact that they're there on the stage with me because I'm very conscious that yes, it is my name on on the poster. It's my name
Yeah.
on the event, but it's bigger than that, and there's more people that contribute
Oh,
to
yeah.
that name that you see.
Yeah,
So yeah, and what you said, like for example, with the rock side of things, like I love. I mean, I don't love rock, but like I appreciate so many different sounds,
yeah.
and I think I love being able to just be like, we just had a random idea of like, oh, why don't we do like this like mega rock intro for Run Run? That could be fun. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Like for me, the concerts I love, like last night, I say last night, this morning, I stayed up to watch Coachella. I couldn't make it to the headliners because like Lana Del Rey was on around 6 a.m. our time. And
Yeah.
it got to like 3 a.m. after watching Skepta. I was so tired. But watching like Skepta on one of the stages yesterday, this is like a UK kind of grime rap artist who is incredible. And I love that feeling of like the mosh pit in the audience. I love that feeling of people jumping and like losing their mind. And it's like for me, on paper, I don't create music that equates to that response.
No.
But it's like
No,
a challenge.
That, no.
Yeah. But it's a challenge of like, but I, as a music listener, I love and appreciate being in the audience for that. So why should I limit myself to be like, well, I create this sound, so I can't really get to that? Well, yeah, I can. Like for a live show, why can't we experiment to a way where we are able to get people moving, able to get people to dance? Like what I loved about the headline show in January was like there was so much room for people to just enjoy themselves.
Oh yeah.
And like
Massively.
I think before I thought I'm an artist where people just have to stand still and listen and just soak it all in. And like I don't want to do that. I don't want to stand still for an hour. Like I want to move. So it's really challenged me of like I'm still able to stay true to what I feel are my musical roots when I'm creating a song or a project that's to be released, but I'm able to experiment in the live side of things to achieve the thing that I, as a music lover, appreciate when I'm in the crowd, which is I want to feel a part of it with you, and I want to dance, and I want the moments where we can be still and take it all in. But overall, like my goal is to have a show where people are like moshing and like people are in a circle and like just full on losing their minds. Like that's what I do.
That's really interesting, Rumbi. You should say that because like I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum because I'm somebody who used to like I used to play loud music and people used to mosh too. In fact, I played shows where people actually did mosh, and I'm on a journey. I'm sort of now more discovering more softer side of music where I'm kind of because it's more maybe I don't know what it is. Maybe at that point in my life, when I'm seeking something different. You know what I mean? Like more soulful, like just to kind of soothe my soul as opposed. So
we're like this. We're passing each other.
But that's an interesting point that you made about like trying to like maybe sometimes edge on like into that kind of thing when I'm probably going exactly like you've just said like I'm probably going like the opposite direction or somewhere like more into the middle of that kind of musical spectrum. But anyway, this is not about me, so I'm just trying. I'm trying not to talk too much about me.
No, it's good.
I was going to ask you actually. This is just out of interest because at the beginning you said you were playing with samples, like with your backing track.
Yeah.
And then gradually you opened yourself to like having these session musicians. And just out of interest, how did you go about finding these people?
It took a long time. Like, most of them, it was like, okay, well, I'd seen them perform for another artist in Manchester, I'd gone to a showcase and they were performing, or I just found them out. Maybe someone shared their thing, because most of them, some of them are their own artists in their own
You're
right. So
right.
they
Yeah.
have like stuff online. So some of them I'd seen them because they were, a mutual had shared their stuff.
Yeah.
So that was great to, um, to see people in their own element and then try to see like, oh, what would it sound like if we were all to be together? I think for me as well, I felt really challenged. Like when I first started with a live band, I had an all male, I had all male musicians, and I
Okay.
just was like, this feels off in the sense of
Yeah.
I as a young black female
Hmm.
artist, I'm surrounded by four men on stage. Like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I just felt like in a space where I was in the same breath, I was complaining that like, oh, in all the spaces you go in, it's male dominated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I was like, I'm not helping this situation at all. And I was like,
Hmm.
I have to find female identifying musicians. Like this is ridiculous.
Hmm.
Like it's not that they don't exist. I'm just not trying hard enough to find them.
Sure.
And now to have like up to four females on stage with me, like it just makes my heart so happy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
always joke, like Sam's mission is to get me an all-girl band and he can just go and I'll be happy, in the sense of I've
Okay.
got like my girl band that I always
All right.
wanted. But yeah, I think just some of them, you cross paths with because of mutuals. And then for the others, it was like, I was aware, okay, I want to find a female bassist. Where can I find a female bassist? And then, finding Viv and another amazing bassist that I've played with called Rosie.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of been the journey, really.
That's really interesting. It really,
Mm.
because again, I really like that as well. That mix of
Mm,
genders on
yeah.
stage. For instance, like your band. Like I said, well, it's not. I know it's not Rumbi Tauro band,
Yeah, I
but I've
know.
seen you twice in that
Yeah,
setup. So with that
yeah,
lineup, which is really good. And obviously
yeah,
your drummer is incredible. So
yeah,
is the bass player.
yeah,
So yeah, I must give credit, because it's
absolutely.
definitely, yeah, yes, very good musicians. Something else I've noticed
Mm.
recently, I think that was on Instagram where I saw this, is that you have your own radio show at the
Yeah, I
moment.
do. I do. I have my own radio show, which has been so fun. I am a resident at Mondo Radio in Sheffield.
Okay.
And I have honestly, right, I am the go-to person in my world
Mm-hmm.
for if there's a party, oh Rumbi, can you do the playlist? If there's a car journey, oh Rumbi, can you plug your phone in? Like I've always been that go-to person, or I've always taken it upon myself to be the person that's in control of the music. And I've always wanted to be part of radio somehow. And honestly, it's just the most random thing. I was praying about it, and then I tweeted like, "Oh, I'd absolutely love to have a radio show." Genuinely, like 3 days later, a mutual at the time, who's now a friend, a mutual at the time called DJ Mina, she sent me a DM on Instagram saying, "Hi, this might seem out of the blue, or like, might not be, up your alley, but we are looking for residents for our radio show for the next kind of cycle. We'd absolutely love to have you with us if you're interested." I was like, surely you've seen my tweets. She was like, what tweet? And I said, no, no, no. I tweeted about wanting to have a show, blah, blah, blah. She was like, honestly, I did not see that, but this is just like divine intervention.
Okay.
And yeah, I've started my journey with that. I'm learning how to DJ. So right now, what I do is I go once a month, every first Thursday of the month, and I will have like a Spotify playlist. And right now, I've been learning how to do like different transitions between the songs and just changing like the
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
frequencies and
Like the
stuff on
proper
the
DJ
decks.
DJ stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
learning how to do that. But the
Hmm.
goal is to get me off of Spotify and for me to be able to mix obviously like two songs at the same time, or like even more songs, and
Yeah.
to have my, to actually use the correct software. But right now it's been great to learn how to do the transition. I speak on my show as well while, in
Okay.
between. It's an hour show that I have. So, learning bit by bit, but by the end of the year, the goal is for me to be able to do like a half-hour set or a 1 hour set
Yeah.
where I'm DJing like properly.
Sounds really good.
So
Which
yeah.
day of the week? What's the date and the time that your show is?
Every first Thursday of the month at 8 p.m.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, every first
First
Thursday of the
Thursday.
month, 8 p.m. on mondoradiocom.
On the radio. Okay. And is this just available locally in Sheffield, or is it available like online as well, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
it's an online radio, so it's not on
Right.
DAB, but an online radio. If
Yeah.
you just type in
Yeah.
mondoradiocom, yeah, you can listen live. Otherwise, it's uploaded onto the radio station
Okay.
SoundCloud link.
Yeah.
SoundCloud account, usually like 2 days after the show
Yeah.
maximum. That's when you
Next
get it.
question. Something about being an independent artist, right? I'm gonna say
Yeah.
this because I am one myself. I've always been one for many years. My YouTube channel also focuses a lot about on this.
Yeah.
So, how have you been finding the journey? Because at least that's my understanding. That you are still an independent artist, or you would
Yeah.
describe yourself as
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
And even when I saw you at that last show that you played, you supporting Ezo Fitzroy, you still talked about making your own T-shirts. So I was like, wow, that's like a proper DIY way
Yeah.
of still
Yeah.
dealing with these types of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're not signed, I presume, to a
No,
record
nothing.
company or anything like that. So
No.
would you be able to tell me a little bit more about how you finding the journey of being an independent artist?
Yes, I will try to do it without tears. So it is very hard. I was saying to someone the other day, I said, if I genuinely would have known, I don't know if okay, the thought came to mind of if I would have known how hard this would have been, I would have never done it. But thank God I didn't know how hard it would be. And I had to just do the first step and take another step and keep going to actually get to this point, because I've been able to take things in like bite-sized chunks. But if I genuinely would have known 4 years ago that it would be this hard, I don't think I would have. I think I would have just been like, I'm all right. But yeah, I'm so grateful to be here. Like, I am learning every day. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's what I've realized is live so far for me, live music doesn't make me money. What makes me money is and I am open to talk about this stuff because I felt like along my journey is things seem so cryptic in this industry. It's like, yeah, but how do you as a
Yeah.
musician make
Yeah.
money? Like, why is no one talking about that?
Yeah.
Because like, even yes, some shows will pay well, and like every musician can leave with a decent amount for the half hour,
Yeah.
45 minutes we've played. But sometimes it's like you're having to divide like £100 between 5 of you.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's
I've been
ridiculous.
there
Like,
myself many times.
on paper it sounds ridiculous, but like on the other side it's like, yeah, but that's still more money than you would have, if you did like a shift at so and so. But it's like, yeah, but it's a completely different industry. The pay rate is so different that how can you equate such quality for that kind of low amount?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I've had to really navigate that of like, I kind of thought the more shows I get, the more money I'll have. Last year I did 40 shows. That's a crazy amount of shows.
That is a crazy. You see, I didn't even know that you were playing that often live.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
a lot. 40 shows in total.
Yeah.
Be that like festivals, live events, or corporate events, where I did a couple of events for the BBC where they had like award ceremonies,
Yeah.
all that type of fun stuff. Like
Yeah.
in total I did 40 shows, 40 performances, sorry.
Sure.
So I thought at the beginning of the year, I was like, oh my days, 40 shows, this is gonna be amazing. Like I'm gonna have enough money to like put towards like utilities and then like this and whatnot, right? But not the case, because realistically I have to split my fee with somebody, whether it be one musician or 5 or 6. Sometimes I've had 9 musicians on stage, so that's been a challenge of understanding how I can actually sustain my life, because bearing in mind that I'd kind of like quit my job back in 2019, and then I'd picked up like a work from home job at the end of 2021. And then I left that job by the end of 2022. So the last 2 years I've been like freelancing in music. So
completely. So you are completely sustaining yourself from music at the moment.
Yeah. Which I don't like to say music. I like to say creatively. I'll explain why I say that, because there's been like I do like what I found, sorry, to go back into to link it back to the question is, as an independent artist, you have to do so many different things to sustain yourself. So then let's bring it back to the example you used of making my own merch. Me and my friend that I live with, we thought, okay, let's invest in the machine and the things that I needed to create the merchandise, rather than trying to get a company to do it on our behalf and having to spend way more money on that. So taking on that kind of weight of, right, we'll do that in-house. And then I host events as well, which has been amazing. Like that's something that I've always known I have an interest in, but I've had to tap into that because, again, finding other ways of like sources of income. So I've had to do lots of different things. That I do panels as well. So when, panels about talking about life as an emerging artist, like those type of things are things that I've had to tap into. I get the pleasure of doing songwriting sessions for young people. So I go into schools and I am usually with them for like an hour and we'll write songs, like, or I'll just be in the room as they do that. And I think being an independent artist, I've learned that it goes beyond just performing. If you can exist and like live off of just performing, like, you're so blessed, because I don't understand how, unless you have to be getting the big shows. But even when you get the big shows, look at the big artists. They still have a perfume line. They still have a documentary that comes out. They are still touring. Like it's beyond that. Exactly. Or they'll bring out some random clothing collection. No one realistically can. Like Ed Sheeran's brought out his own guitars with a company. I don't know who it is. Like Ed Sheeran, who is absolutely huge. Like what I've realized is everyone is technically on the same journey, but just it's the capacity that's the only difference, And I think I've had to learn to extend myself into different avenues, different spaces, to be able to just to sustain myself. But it has been it's a lot, and I'm always doing so many different things, and I hope over the the years to come that I'm able to reduce the amount I do to kind of just channel in on the key things that I want to focus on, because it's not sustainable for me to be doing this much stuff for a long time. It's really challenging. But I think what I've had to do is get plugged into the industry, and not just by performing, like going on to masterclasses, finding what's actually happening within the UK industry. Like, what does touring actually look like? What's going on with the streaming platforms? Publishing is something I'm really needing representation in, because a sustainable way for me to continue my career is through what I believe would be through like synchronization,
sync licensing.
So for me to have, like, for people that don't know, for me to have my music on adverts or movies and soundtracks, and to create music for film, those are the type of things where I'm making money as I'm sleeping. And that's the goal, to be able to have like an ecosystem around you that continues, and it's not dependent on you being present in a room, or like, I can't be everywhere at all times. Just trying to make a way that my music is doing that for me, and then bringing that revenue in. So it's just, you've got to understand that you're a business, and if you want music to be your thing, you've got to detach yourself to like, I see it now as like, I'm Rumbi, and the artist I am is Rumbi Tauro. I know that sounds silly, because Rumbi Tauro is actually my name, but like it's my government name. But I've had to detach myself of, like, actually, like I said to you, on stage, you see there's so many people that go into that thing that you get to take away as, oh, that's Rumbi. It's like, no, when you saw me on stage, it was Rumbi with 5 other people. All together, we gave you that impression of Rumbi Tauro. But like, I off stage and away from all this stuff, I'm just Rumbi, and I've got to detach and understand that's my business side, mixed with a whole lot of passion. But I have to see it as a business first, rather than it being passion.
So effectively it becomes like a brand, doesn't it? That's what you're describing. I'm really glad. But yes, I am really glad that you've touched up on all these different things, because this is really key, like you said, in terms of like being able to support yourself, for example. And you're right, absolutely, you need to have this diversified streams of income and avenues that you need to explore as an artist. It's not just like one-way street.
No.
just playing shows and being able to,
Go home and make
yeah,
more music. Like
yeah.
it's not that simple when you are independent. If you have a label, whatever, yeah. But like when you are really doing it by
Maybe,
yourself,
yeah, but again,
like yeah, maybe
being on
not
a
yeah.
label, the thing is, you'd have to be on a pretty big label, because the thing is that, and again, with doing it by yourself, or a lot of that, a lot of obviously money also
Yeah.
stays in your pocket, because
Yeah.
like if you are going through a record company, or then again,
Yeah.
there's splits, there's different things that you need to also sacrifice, I guess,
Yeah.
for something that maybe they will give to you or maybe not. So again, there's all these things to consider, right?
And on it, the thought of, oh my gosh, it makes me want to cry. Like the thought of me creating something and going to a meeting and being told, yeah, no, we just don't see the vision. I
Yeah.
can't, I don't know how I would actually feel in that situation. Like before I even got into this, I thought, yeah, I just want to be signed to a major label and just, yeah, live the high life. But see, like even James Blake announced that, he is going independent. I'm like, wow, a huge. I mean, you even saw it with Ray and her journey, how she's just blossomed ever since leaving her label.
Yeah.
But I think I would really struggle with being in an agreement. Like as hard as this side is, I would take this struggle and with the challenges it comes with any day over kind of signing my music away, not fully owning,
Yeah.
all the rights and
Yeah.
being told what essentially I think when you're in a bad deal, you are being told what to do.
Yep.
And and if you don't do that, then they're not releasing your music.
Absolutely.
Like
And even worse, being shelved, for example, right? Like some artists have been, like in
they
terms of like, oh,
have.
we don't believe this is gonna
Yeah.
sell,
Yeah.
for example. So we just,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, so I think
No.
yeah, I'm grateful that I've kind of taken the long route of getting to this position, and it's led to so much, clarity. For me, the goal over the next couple of years is to have a live booking agent or to be signed up to an agency, the right one.
Yeah.
There's a couple that are on my radar that I've already tried reaching out to, but you know how it goes. Usually, you get ignored for like
I do
a
know
year,
how it
2,
goes.
3,
I
4, 5
really do,
years.
Rumbi.
Yeah.
Yeah, sending lots of messages,
Yeah.
emails, and only getting
Emails.
very few replies. And yeah.
Exactly. So it's like for me, a live booking agency, and then to be signed to a publisher,
Yeah.
and then management. And well, I mean, actually, let's start again. So to have legal representation,
Yeah.
to then have a live booking agency,
Yeah.
to then have a publisher, management, and then we just grow the team, to have a creative director and all this type of stuff. But I think obviously legal representation is really important. I don't mean like, a solicitor that I have on payroll. I just mean when it comes
No.
to all the other things that will follow.
As and
I know
when required. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I've got someone
I
that
get
can
that
go
fully.
through.
Because of course, if like anything like contracts, for instance, so like if you are even that collaboration with other people,
Yeah,
it's important that you kind of have things in right, some agreements,
Yeah.
in this is how we're gonna do this is what how we're gonna split it, whatever, that kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
fully get that.
Definitely.
I'm pretty much on a very similar journey. I would say with
Yeah.
in terms of like my way of thinking about these things, at least.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
I guess overall what you're trying to do, or what you should be trying to do, is to protect yourself first and foremost, and then protect your art. Like if you want to use it the other way around, if you feel like you should protect your art first, then yourself, fair enough. But for me, I think everything that you do should always be protecting yourself in all spaces, circumstances, situations that are for now and for the future, and then protecting your art again for now and for the future.
Yeah, for sure. Because you never know, right? And this is
you
another
never
thing.
know.
Like you said, you talked about this sync licensing. So even like Kate, I even talked about this on my channel, like Kate Bush, who actually owns her own publishing. This is really interesting because say there was like 30 something years later after this single came out, she effectively, because it was used in a series, in a TV series, I think, all of a sudden that song picked up. So it's like
It
when,
did.
it was a hit one
Yeah.
time, say 30 something years ago, and then
Yeah.
after a while, she say, I don't know, she might be in her 60s or 70s now. I actually don't know how
Yeah.
old she is, but I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, like, and then a song picks up because it's been used somewhere, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you start, it start working on itself again. So it's very important, you're right, to protect yourself in those types of ways, so everything is
Yeah.
properly done.
Yeah.
Because if it happens, then
Then what?
yeah, you want to
Then
benefit
what?
from it. Something else I've read about or saw or seen about you is that you are involved in Arts Council England, I think, as some kind of like on a panel or something, like a youth panel, or is that right?
Yeah. I just finished well, we finished the end of last year, a year with the Arts Council's youth advisory board. So
Uh-huh.
basically, that was just such a game changer for me because it allowed me to see music in a different light and
Hmm.
allowed me to, I guess, my eyes to be opened with access of the arts and culture that young people have. I, as I've mentioned, I had a very privileged experience of music growing up. Like the fact that my mum and dad sacrificed. We didn't have money like that, but they made it a priority that no matter what happens, we're going to make sure that we can afford for Rumbi to have these piano lessons once or twice a week. From the age of 4 to 16, that's a lot of money every week, like, and what were you going to say? Sorry.
You've had very good parents, I think.
Honestly, and
Yeah.
again, a lot of what I do now, just as a shout out to them, is because of the support I've had. Like it's been undeniable from day one, and even at the times when
Yeah.
I wanted to quit music,
Hmm.
they gave me room to kind of find the love again myself. But the open arms I've received back every time, and it's like, yeah, okay, no, I want to do this, I can do this. Has been amazing, and I don't think I would have pursued music to this intensity if it wasn't for my parents, and I don't
Yeah.
take that lightly in
That's
terms of
really
their
incredible.
support.
That is very important in one's life, isn't it? Because, if
Mm,
you have that support behind you, then that
yeah.
keeps you
You feel like
going.
you can do anything, even the
Yeah.
times where it's like I do feel like, oh gosh,
Mm.
like this is a lot. It's like, for me, I said it in an interview the other week of like, if my parents can move countries and start afresh, like
Mhm.
this is this is a challenge for me, yes, but they did that and it inspires me of like I can do what I'm trying to do because I'm doing something new in my family. I'm taking my family name to greater heights than what it's ever been at.
Mhm.
So yes, it is hard. It is a challenge, but like I'm inspired by kind of the setup they created for me to have this life anyway. So yeah, with the Arts Council stuff, look, we had a chance to study what access young people have across the 8 regions in the UK of like, okay, how much access do young people actually have to the arts and
Mhm.
culture?
Mhm.
And it for some in some areas it was amazing, in some areas it was really poor. We commissioned a research company to conduct the peer-led research. We didn't want adults going into these spaces. We wanted young people to interview young people because
Okay.
they can
Yeah.
usually feel more open and safe when
Yeah.
that age gap isn't too much.
Yeah.
Not to
Yeah.
be ageist, but it's just facts.
It is. It
Um,
is. I agree.
it is, especially when you're talking to
They're
young
not gonna
kids.
talk to
That's
me in the same way as they talk to some,
yeah, and
someone
even like
that.
for us, for some of us, we were like, for me now, I'm 27. I was like,
Mm.
even for me to talk to someone who is in year 5 or 6, who's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
10 or
Of
11,
course.
it's still a bit of a, a big gap. Like I think we ended up having some amazing young people that were like around the age of like 18 conducting them instead, and that
Right.
again that really allows that gap to feel more comfortable for the young people. Anyway, that led to then my passion of me realizing, okay, there are some spaces where young people have never actually had a proper music lesson, or their music lessons are
Okay.
rubbish in school.
Yeah.
And now that's when I was able to do like my song, I've been able to do my songwriting workshops with young people in Manchester, in Wakefield, Sheffield and Doncaster, and just had
Oh yeah.
such an amazing time where I don't think I would have ever done this if I wasn't aware of the barriers that young people face with
Mhm.
like accessing music to start with. So that has been incredible. That was an incredible time with the Arts Council, and I'm still supported by some incredible individuals who are part of the London and Manchester team that, we still meet up and they still are invested in my journey. But grateful to have had that experience of being able to advise different companies. That we had the British Library come to us one time asking us to review their new website that they wanted to release. So we traveled. We got to go to like London, Leeds, Liverpool, York, came to Manchester as well because Arts Council have an office here in the city centre. So we got to, meet some and we got to watch like Romeo and Juliet in London, an incredible adaptation of the classic. Just got to really just experience so much arts and culture, and also be part of the main reason, just to wrap up this point, was the government want to create a 10-year plan that all schools in the UK will use, that by the entry level of education from a child starting school around the age of 5 to leaving around 16 years old, this is how much access young people should have. So we went to deliver a panel in front of members of parliament of the Department of Media, Culture and Sport to deliver our findings on the research that the company had conducted with the questions that we'd set out. And we've been part of this incredible document that's going to be distributed all across the schools that will be used forever. Like, that for me means the world of like, wow, it's not going to change everything, but if that means one more child gets a little more access to music and the arts, like, that's more than I could ever ask for.
That's fantastic. That sounds like a really, really good piece of work that you've been involved with.
It was incredible. So yeah, loved it.
Next question is about what types of messages, if any. But I mean, I've taken some messages, I think, from your songs, but what kind of message or messages are you trying to convey through your music?
Messages of hope, messages of kind of people understanding that, like, I've been through this, and if you're going through this exact same thing, like, you've got like an audible hug from me, like, if it's so funny because there's not all my songs are about me. Probably like half of my songs that anyone's heard are actually about me. The rest of them, it's just either inspiration from a friend or a situation that has got nothing to do with me. It's easier for me to write about stuff than to actually speak about it. So usually I don't even know what the message is. I've just created a song that either if it's about me, I might not be aware that's how I'm actually feeling about a situation. But after creating the song and usually after releasing it, I'm like, oh, so that's how I felt about that situation. And that's me processing in real time how, like, my actual emotions. Sometimes I might not be aware of them, but that's the messages of hope, and for people to just find some sort of comfort if the story relates to you in any sense. And I think as well, sometimes, I guess to an extent, genuinely whatever the listener thinks the song is about. Like, I can't control how you receive my music. So if there's a message that you think it's about and that helps you in some sort of way, sure, that have it, But if you ask me what the song's about, I'll tell you what kind of where my heart was at with that. Usually if anyone asks me, I'll always say, what do you think it's about first? Just because I'm interested into, is it on the same line? Because or if you kind of received it in a different way, because it depends on what everyone's experience is, how you kind of can explore what the text even means. But that's kind of that's been the message so far. Just love in different ways. I mean, the new one with Pressure, like, which is Pressure is going to be the lead single from my upcoming EP.
Good, because it's a very good song.
Thank you. So Pressure is literally a song about feeling the pressures of life and being like, wow, I know I want to achieve so much, but like, sometimes I can feel overwhelmed. And that for me is like a song for the first time really exploring my faith. Like, I'm a Christian. I've grown up in a Christian household, and I am part of an amazing church here in Manchester called Audacious Church. And being able to actually put a song in that kind of touches on my faith has been amazing, because it's like, actually, yeah, this is it's like every song almost feels like another reintroduction of yourself. It's like, okay, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, and this is a message that came with so much ease. Like, the words literally just oozed out of my mouth, like when I created that near with them, with Joel and Sam. And like, it's just like, if that can help anyone else, whether you believe in God or not, like let it be a reminder that, like, it's okay to feel overwhelmed with the pressures of life sometimes, and it will be okay. But my message is like, with that song, it's like, for me, I know that I'm not in control, and that's okay. And there's a God that's in control of my life. So it just, I can get, there's comfort in me. It's funnily enough, a lot of my songs end up somehow helping me later on down the line in a way that I didn't think that they would. Like my EP that I wrote in 2020, that was like about love, heartbreak, and like self-discovery. But that was about a relationship I'd experienced years before. Then it ended up helping me in a breakup a couple of years ago. And I was like, this is funny. Like, I'm listening to a song in a completely different experience, like in a different way. It's the words are really speaking to me, but this is about a new situation and completely different experience. So yeah.
No, and it's absolutely true what you say, that people will, a lot of the time, when people listen to your music or anybody's music, they will make their own interpretations, and they will sometimes relate to their own life experiences based on what they hear. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The last three questions are about a little bit about you right now, and also about the future. So the first thing is, where is the best to listen to your music?
To be honest, I'd probably say listen. I don't even know if this is helpful for me, but who cares, because all streaming platforms are rubbish anyway in terms of what they actually pay. But
yes,
probably YouTube I'd say is good, because you'll be able to find all the singles on all the songs that are on there. But even better, some of my music videos are on there from like a couple of years ago, and they're still really cool. My favorite music video is, actually I can't pick, but Run Run, the music video, is really good, I think. And the Lost music video I think is really good. So YouTube, I'd say. You get, and there's some live performances on there as well, I think. So
that's good, because we are on YouTube, talking about this as well. Yes. So and in a way, this is interesting, because my platform really is, or has been, YouTube personally as well. I'm not that invested in. I am a little bit, but I'm mostly invested in YouTube at the moment. So when can people see you live? How many shows have you got? A lot of shows booked in advance?
So I don't really know if I should be saying this now, but oh well. I don't have to run it past anyone, because I am the boss. I am planning a mini tour for the end of the year. So right now I've got, like, upcoming, there's I'll save the tour stuff, because I know you're going to ask me about future stuff. So I'll save that part for the next question, if there is something that applies to. But for the next 2 months, you can find me on the 5th of May. I will be performing at Revolution de Cuba with two musical friends of mine, one called Grumpy, who is technically like headlining it, Grumpy and Predo. It's going to be an Afro-fusion bottomless brunch, which is really fun. So that's going to be on a bank holiday Sunday, 4 p.m. till 6 p.m. It's a quick performance from me, 20-minute set.
Okay. Is that ticketed, by the way?
It is ticketed. So there's a brunch option, and then there's just like an entry-only option. So that's on my website / Instagram bio as well. Actually, on all my platforms, I posted about it yesterday. And then I'm going to be performing at a really, really, really cool, two really cool events. 22nd of May, I'm performing at Manchester Museum, which is really fun.
Oh wow. Okay.
So there's
The
a
actual old building on Oxford Road, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
wow.
so cool.
Wow.
So I'm performing for it's gonna be it's Africa Day.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to be performing for some of my creative friends who go under the name of Cultureville, and it's just a celebration of Africa in its entirety.
Mhm.
So there's going to be a narrative from the get go to the end, and I'm going to be performing a piece or two pieces to celebrate that. Tickets are not out yet, but they will be, and I'll post about it. But that's the 22nd of May. It's a
Yeah.
Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah.
And finally, the really exciting one is on the 15th of June. I'm going to be performing at Sheffield's first ever jazz festival called Jazz on the Park.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the full band with me. So that's the next full band booking. Full band with me, and we've got a 45-minute set. We are supporting an incredible musician called Mansour Brown. And yeah, it's gonna be great. Another great artist on there called KOG. Who is going to be performing on the main stage as well. So it's just going to be a wicked event, and for them to bring these artists to Sheffield is like mega. So
fantastic. Thank you for that. And the last question is actually, what are your plans for the future? Because this is like more like an immediate future, what you've just told me.
Yeah.
What are the plans, like moving forward from here for Rumbi Tauro?
So we have got a live EP coming in the summer. That EP is from my headline show in January. The show was
I need to buy this. I'm buying that one definitely from that show, 100%.
Can't wait. Thank you. So it's a 10-track show that we did, but the EP is a 5-track EP.
Oh, is it only 5-track? Why don't you release all 10 tracks?
Had to cut out some tracks. It's too much, and these 5, it's like it's perfect. It makes so much sense.
Fair play.
In my eyes, but yeah, Bartek might be disappointed.
I'd gladly listen to all 10, to be honest. I thought the whole show was amazing. Like I for a music lover like me, you know what I mean? Like I just gladly enjoyed like all of it. But
yeah, all of it. No, it was hard for me to make it. Because of course I could release all 10, but it just wasn't sitting right in my gut. I said no, it needs to be. And as we discussed it with the musicians, and we're like, yeah, no, these 5 are the ones that make sense for this, for the world to hear it. Like,
I understand.
And then because of that, we're gonna have a mini tour at the beginning of November to celebrate. So right now it's going to be, well, actually, no, I'll announce that properly when it's time. But we've got a mini tour that's happening, which is exciting because a lot of things, like I was saying, with being a DIY artist, you think, oh, I'll just wait for that to happen or someone to ask me to be part of their tour or whatever. I can't keep waiting around for things and for people. Like, I've received some funding. I'm being mentored by Factory International here in Manchester, incredible organization. And I've received a bursary to go towards my creative practice. And I've been able to use some of that money to like book some of the venues for this mini tour.
So this is a self-booked tour basically, right?
Yeah, which is
great. I mean, look, I've done some, well I'm gonna say this, I've booked my own tours before, but I didn't book the venues themselves. So like let me explain. So the way I've gone about it in the past was I would approach, say, the local promoters somewhere, in a specific town or city or wherever, like I had a bit of a plan. And then I would be like, would you put my band on or whatever, right? This is where we're planning to do it. So I've done all that kind of like booking my own tour without a booking agent, for instance. But I haven't, which is probably something I'm going to do at some point.
Great.
Booking. I've booked a single gig. I just booked a venue and I had that, but I've never booked like an actual tour in like a few places. So that's really interesting. Yeah.
It's one of those that it's like, it feels like, oh, is it a bit too premature to do that? But no, not really. I'm 4 years in. I think it's time for a mini experiment. You have to take risks in this industry. Like I am all for it. Is going to work. It's going to be amazing. Like, I've picked really specific venues that just match my brand so well, and I just think there's, as always, there's thought that's gone behind it. So I'm hoping that it will
Yeah.
be the right decision to close off the musical year.
And I presume you're not going to reveal where you're gonna be playing, because we are waiting for the announcement, right?
Yeah, I right now I was like, I'll just say it, but no, I should wait. I should wait.
It's fine. It's fine.
I should
I'm not going
wait.
to I'm not going to pressure you to to
Yeah.
say no. It's good.
You
It's
know,
good.
I will wait and I'll announce it properly. But it is happening, and I'm scared, and I'm excited, and it's all very new. But it's it's a good direction to be heading in. Next couple of years, as I said, it's just growing the team. But in the meantime, it's growing my name, growing the music, just trying to create even better music than what I've done so far. That's always the goal, right? But I think alongside that, it's just to continue to just remember that this is part of me and it's not all who I am. It's not all of who I am. So actually just living my life alongside this, making memories with friends, family, enjoying this city, traveling, and just still falling in love with being in this confusing age of 27 onwards. I'm still young, and I need to remember that this is something I want to do for a long time, but I can't just tick everything off now. It's not possible. And even if I were to tick everything off, there'd be a new list ready for me to do the next day anyway. So it's just remembering that this is part of me, and I've still got a whole lot of my life that I need to live. So yeah, that's the plan for the future.
Oh, that sounds really good. Well, thank you very much for joining me today for the interview.
Thank you, Bartek. And shout out to you. Bartek's been to all my shows this year, which has been, honestly, it blows my mind. It means a lot. So thank you for your support and for having me on your channel.
No, it's my pleasure. Honestly, I'm a person who's just, I suppose, if I like somebody, I like somebody, and that's it, really. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be turning up just for the sake of it, you know?
No, honestly, thank you so much. It means the world, and it's really, really encouraging, especially, like I said, being new, still feels like I'm new to the city, and being received so well. It's just encouraging in the moments where you think should I still be doing this? And
100%. I think the answer is 100% you should. I think you're on a upward trajectory as well, personally.
Thank you.
I think it's going, the things are just waiting for you, because it just must happen. I think, from my perspective, at least, because you've got the talent, and you've got the voice, and you've got the songs, and I'm sure there's gonna be more, like you've just said, writing more songs.
Gotta keep going. Absolutely. And just finding the joy in it. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.